Hello and welcome back to the Tin Barn. I'm Pragmatic Lee, and today we've got another organizational project to take care of. I don't have a lot of air tools. I've got 6, 8, maybe 10 various different air tools, from die grinders, angle die grinders, cut-off tools, ratchets, common type air tools. The more of them I get, the more of them I like, but right now I don't have a whole lot. But I'm sure you've seen in various retail stores, Harbor Freight for one, Tractor Supply, places like that sell a lot of air tools. I'm sure you've seen displays similar to this picture. What we're going to do today is very similar to that, but instead of using these quick disconnects, which are anywhere from $4 to $8, maybe $10 a piece, according to where you buy them. Instead of using them, we're going to make our own standards, or our own pieces, female pieces to hold the male that's in each one. They're going to look like something like this. I made a prototype. This is drilled inside to match the various shoulders on here. So it simply sits in there. The bottom of it is knurled. You'll see where that'll come into play in a minute. Also, you'll see where the reason I drilled and tapped the bottom here for a 1/4 20. What I'm going to do is take this piece of poplar. It's a called a 1x8, 24 inches long. And I'm going to mount this, I'm going to mortise it out and mount this tracking in there. This is called T-tracks or T-slot tracks. I found this on eBay. These are 2 pieces I had left over from a project from several years ago. They're 24 inches long, and a standard 1/4 20 nut will not go in that slot. A standard 1/4 20 nut is about 217, 218 thousandths thick. What you use with these are what's called jam nuts. And again, these are some that's left over from an earlier project. As a matter of fact, they were I think I've shown it in a different video of my tool holders for the lathe. But the jam nuts are 1/4 20, but they're only about 161 thousandths thick. These jam nuts will slide in that track just like the T-slot in your milling machine. After we machine, I'm going to do about 10 of these in this video. Obviously, I won't show the repetition of doing 10 of them, but in this project, I'm going to make about 10 or 12 of them to begin with. Then we're going to put a 1/4 20. These are actually grub screws, set screws. We will thread lock that in. And you remember, these T-slots are going to be mounted in this piece of wood over here. So they will be sitting in the wood like this, mortised down in there. And what will make this a little bit more versatile is based on the size of your tool. Use the knurl on here, loosen it, adjust it to wherever you need it on the rail, tighten it back down. So we're going to have a little bit of lathe work in this, and something I've never done on any of my videos. We're going to do just a little bit of woodworking. As a matter of fact, we're going to go over to the dirty side of the tin barn now and route these 2 grooves out. We'll use a high-speed router, route out the grooves for this T-track, get that installed, and get this board painted and let it be drying while we do the rest of the project. So I'll meet you over in the dirty side of the tin barn. Okay, we're over here in what I've been calling the dirty side of the tin barn now, and I hope y'all can hear me okay over the rain. Folks, it's raining like a cow pissing on a flat rock around here today. We're actually under tornado warnings, tornado watches today in eastern North Carolina. Actually, most of central and eastern North Carolina, storms moving up from the south. But I think we're going to be okay in here. Maybe so. But I've got my little Vermont American table set up here with a Ryobi 1.5 horse router in. I've got a 3/4 inch mortising bit, I guess is what you call it. Got it set up with a guide over here. And you're gonna see why I'm doing this in the dirty side. As a matter of fact, if it wasn't raining so hard outside, I'd probably carry this outside because sawdust is not one of my favorite things. We're over here, if you recall a couple videos back, I did the airdrop right above this table. And in my last 2 videos, I think it was probably the last 2 before this, right down here is the 2x72 belt grinder. So let's get this fired up. And like I say, I don't like sawdust. There's my welding table. As you can see, I would prefer to have done this outside, but the rain just ain't happening today. All right, I'm gonna step back over, get our tracks, come back in here, and we're gonna get those installed. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and install the T-tracks in here and mask them off before we do the painting. The reason I'm doing that is just to keep from getting so much paint down in the tracks, because you'll see here, these are gonna be a fairly tight fit. Not that it's going to need it with that tight a fit, but I'm going to go ahead and put some little mounting screws in this, and these are countersunk so that they don't get in the way of the jam nut sliding through. All right, I'm going to do the same thing to the other one. Get it in, mask this off. Mask it off and paint it. I'll do that off camera. It's just going to be smearing a little paint, and then that can be drying while we go back to the lathe and start cutting out our pieces. Okay, it got a little windy and a little nasty outside for a while, so I shut everything down for, I don't know, about an hour. But I've got the wood painted and it's in there drying. We're getting ready to do some lathe work now. What I'm going to make these holders out of is 1.25 inch aluminum stock. I happen to have a piece of that. It was donated by a viewer that's actually local to me. But I've got it loaded in the chuck now, and as you can see, it's going all the way through the headstock. It's about a 6-foot piece of aluminum stock. In my last Tidbits video, I showed a segment on the outside spider that I've got on here with using 4 1/4-20 bolts to line everything up. I indicated that into within about 3 or 4 thousandths, which is plenty fine, but it holds. I get little to no vibration in the lathe, turning that longer stock. And it's, it might be running out maybe 50 thousandths at that 6 foot end down here. But for the most part, everything is holding in place. And to prevent any waste stock, I'm going to use it just like that. So I'm going to get the camera set up here on the lathe, and we're going to set up and make one of these holders. All right, I have you in an overhead position again. First thing we're going to do is face off our workpiece. All right, I'm going to back the carriage, or bring the carriage down here out of the way. Bring our tailstock in. We're going to center drill. All right, the smallest diameter on the male airline fittings is a 7/16. And bring our drill in until we, all right, right there. Now we're going to set our 0. We're going to go in 1 inch on this. My tailstock likes to slip back just a little bit when it first engages, so I'll bring it back out, reset 0. Now we should be good. Take about 25 thousandths cut, pause, let it break the chip. And there's 1 inch on our DRO. Now we'll install the next bit, which is a 15/32 to match the outside diameter, or the large diameter on the male airline fittings. Again, let my tailstock get seated good. We're going to carry this in a 1/2 inch. Now, while everything is set in that position, I'll double check, and yes, that bottom sets all the way down. So now we want to put our turning tool in. I'm using a 60-degree tool here. And I'm going to set the Z-axis on 0. There's not much stuck out there, but I'm going to go ahead and put the live center in. That just helps hold everything steady. And we want to turn this down to 7/8 of an inch. And And we're going to go 1 1/4 inch in. So I've set the Z-axis on the DRO to 0. And we'll take about 80 thousandths at a time. All right, we're going to get a measurement here, see how much more we need. It's 927, and we're looking 875. It's 52 more thousandths. All right, and I'm going to set the x-axis, the x-axis DRO to 0 on that. That should be the same for the remainder of the pieces. And I'll do a double check on that, but I know it's going to be close enough to what we're doing here. $875.5. So now I want to, reason I was using this 60-degree tool right here, you see that put us a little bit of a shoulder here. That's not just a square shoulder, just something a little bit different. I'll come in now and chamfer this edge. Before we take down with this tool, our x-axis 0 is still good, so we're going to come down here to 2 inches and put us a good deep witness mark. Now we're going to put our chamfering tool in. We're going to put our knurling tool in. And be sure we're on above it, on center, or just a little bit over, if anything. All right, I'm going to back out to where my knurling wheels are just hanging off that edge. Tighten it down all I can tighten by hand. Slow our RPM down. Now I'm running about 300 RPMs here. Put a little juice in there and engage. And that deep witness mark we just put in, I'm going to run the knurling tool beyond it, at least half the knurling tool over it. That's why I wanted a good deep mark. All right, I'll stop. Give it couple more twist. What I can do by hand, I'm going to put the lathe in reverse. Some more juice. Engage the feed. And I'm going to let this feed until at least half my knurling tool or more is off of that edge. It is. I'll stop the feed, and I will simply back the tool off. All right, now we're going to go with our parting tool, and we'll get that set up by eye to our witness mark. I'll lock the carriage down and start the end feed. But I need to remember to put my lathe back in the correct direction. And I'm power feeding this in. It's a lot more steady than my hand is. All right, now it's parted off, and I can assure you it's kind of warm. So here's our piece with the shoulders inside. I should have chamfered that edge right there a little bit. I'll get that off camera. I'm going to continue this process now. Like I say, I'm going to make about 12 of these. I think I might have said 10, but I'm going to make 12 of these now in this setting. So what I'm going to do is loosen the spider over here, bring this out to where I can get another one and continue to repeat that process. And I'll bring you back when we get to the point where we're going to turn these around. What we'll do is turn them around, face it, drill and tap for 1/4 20. Okay, it's the next day now, and I've got 12 of these holders roughed out. Got along pretty good doing that. Actually got my time down to about 12 minutes, 11, 12 minutes each. But these didn't happen before a little excitement here. After I stopped working the shop yesterday in the Tinborn, went in, got my shower, was sitting down eating dinner, and every cell phone in the house went off. Mine, my wife's, my daughter's, with a weather alert. Seems a tornado touched down about 400 yards east, northeast of here at the house. We didn't get the brunt of it. Did lose a cherry, I'm sorry, I called it a cherry tree, but it was a plum tree. lost a plum tree in the front yard. It just barely missed our daughter's car when it fell. And about 10 sheets of tin on the tin barn out here blew up, end of them blew up. They didn't blow completely off. But I spent my morning this morning cutting down a plum tree, cutting it up and hauling it to the woods. And then I despise a ladder. The only thing to me worse than climbing up a ladder and getting on the roof is having to get off the roof and climb down the ladder. I'm just not as young as I used to be. But got it nailed back down and got it reasonably secured, I think, now for a while until I can find somebody a little younger than I am to get up there and run some more screws in the tin and maybe put some roofing sealant on it. But let's get on with the project. Like I say, I got these done. I've got the collet chuck in the lathe now. Got the 7/8 collet in, and I actually got a stop on it, just so that I know every time I come in I got clearance. First thing we're going to do is face off this end, this parted end, get rid of that little tit that's on the end there as well. So we'll come in and lock the carriage down, back off and advance the compound just enough to clean that end up. And while that's cleaning up over here off camera, I'm going to put the center drill in the chuck. And while we're sitting right here, I'm going to put that same 60-degree insert tool in, unlock the carriage, and I'm going to come in and put a chamfer on this end, a big heavy chamfer, to visually match the angle and the depth on the other end. That looks good. Now we'll come back in here to this end and just clean that up a little bit where when we did the knurling, it put a little rough edge on there. So now we'll run our center drill, change that out to our tap drill for 1/4-20. A little bit of WD-40 just to help evacuate the chip. We'll drill this until it breaks through to the holes we drilled in the other end. No need of fighting with a blind hole here. Now we'll put our 1/4-20 tap in. Slow way down. Put a little juice on the tap. Of course, the tailstock is floating. We'll just let it pull itself in. Kill power, reverse the lathe, back it out. Chamfer on that piece before I threaded. Just break that edge a little bit. All right, we'll blow it out a little bit. Let's grab another one. All right, I'm going to continue that process for the remainder of the pieces. And when I come back, I think we're going to do something that I've never shown on my channel before, but we're going to do a little powder coating. I don't believe I've ever shown that on the channel. So stick with me. When I get these others done, we'll get set up over in the dirty side of the tin barn again and do some powder coating. All right, all the pieces are made now, and I'm back over here in the dirty side of the tin barn again. That's going to be, or that is my little powder coat and spray booth. We'll get to that in a minute though. I've got the kitchen stove heating up over there on the wall. I've just got it warming up now, maybe about 150, 200 degrees to dry out the pieces, because before we start this powder coating process, we're going to give all of it a good bath. One of the, I guess it's a secret, but one of the keys to getting a decent powder coating is to wash and rinse everything good and be sure it's dry. So I've got some simple green here. I'm going to give everything a very good washing, scrubbing with the toothbrush. Maybe the wife won't miss it. Give all these a good washing and a rinse in clear water. I'm going to do that to all 12 of them. Then we're going to put them on this little pallet over here. This is a pallet made for my powder coating. It's simply an aluminum plate with some quarter 20 bolts run all the way through them. We'll line these pieces up around that, set them in the oven just long enough to dry, and then I'll meet you over at the powder coating booth and we'll spray them. All right, I think they're dried off good now. The pallet's still a little bit warm. I could handle it barehanded if necessary, but no need to take a chance. All right, this is my little ground clip. All I've got is one of these little Eastwood home kits. I'll try to post a picture of the control box that's over here on this side. But it's plugged into the wall, got the push button. I've got about 12 pounds of air pressure coming to the hose now. So I'll hook the ground on there, and when I energize this, what it does, the electricity will attempt to flow from the gun to the workpiece that's grounded, and should create a magnetic field there that this semi-gloss black powder will stick to. So that seems to be clicking fine or adhering good. And they're kind of tight on this pallet, so I'm going to have to rotate every direction. If you saw that spark there, that's what happens when you get a little bit too close. Because there is some high voltage here, low amperage, but high voltage. All right, I think everything's got an apple coat on it now. The fact that it's magnetic should have drawn it up underneath the bottom as well. I see a little spot over here. Might be a little shiny right on. Okay. All right, I'm going to turn the camera around to the oven. All I'm going to do is, I've got the oven preheating now. I'm going to let it get up to about 400 degrees. Then we'll set this in the oven. All right, the pieces don't look all that good right now. But I'm going to set them in here in the oven. It's up to 400 degrees now. Set those in there. And I'm going to set the timer on my iPhone for about 20 minutes, and we'll bring you back when I get ready to take them out. Okay, I think we're ready to wrap this video up now. over here I've got the board. After it's painted and dried, the pieces have had time to cool down after the powder coating. As you saw in the previous picture, what I simply did was take a 1-inch long 1/4-20 grub screw or set screw, mounted this in there with some thread lock, and these can be placed anywhere along the 2 tracks. Again, works just like it does with your T-slots in your milling machine. So with that mounted down, and again, they're just randomly spaced out there now, we can take our various tools, the brad nailer, a somewhat larger brad nailer, and there we've got an easy, simple place to put our air tools, easily accessible. As you can see, right now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 empty holders out of the 12. I do have a couple of other air tools. I have this air riveter. A little bit, it would sit on there and might put it on there. This one I think might be a little bit large for it. So this will keep its place in the cabinet. I'm leaving this portable as it is right now. When I get some more, I'm fixing to do some moving around here in the tin barn. When I get that done, this will probably have its permanent location. But until then, it'll remain portable. I think it's going to be a useful way of putting my air tools out where I can get to them easily. What I'll do at the same time, wherever I mount this, I'll put this bottle of air tool oil close by to remind me that every time I use it, I need to give it a drop or 2 of oil. So I hope this gives you some ideas on how to store your air tools. Hope you got something out of the video, and we'll see you on the next one.